Dane, welcome, brother.
Dane, how are you?
Hey,
man?
how are we doing today, guys?
What's going on?
Look at the purple Raiders helmet all shined up in the background. I'm digging that. Digging that. Very nice.
Well, you got Dane. Do you know any? We got now have four guys from Northeast Ohio who are head coaches in the NFL with Jonathan Gannon. Do you know any of those guys?
Well, I just missed Nick Sirianni. I was at Mount Union, and Jay, actually, remember when you and Cold Pizza came to Alliance, Ohio?
I absolutely do.
What was that? 2004. That was my freshman year.
Wow, that's incredible.
I was the guy behind you holding the "We Want USC" sign. And 2 years later is when I joined the football program, and so I just missed Nick Sirianni, but I was there with Pierre Garcon and Jason Cannon was there. Now it's Nito. So it was a fun program to be a part of.
And they're really putting out some of these coaches.
Man.
It's really crazy. And now they've got Dane at the Athletic. I mean, you guys are everywhere. I can't go anywhere without seeing the Purple Raiders, and I love that, by the way. Dane, let's first start talking about guys that the Browns are targeting with their first pick in the second round. I don't know if you can give us specifics. Obviously, we're looking at D tackles and wide receivers. And we've had this long-running debate on the show since the season ended. Do they go wide receiver? Do they go defensive tackle? I think they need to address the defensive tackle situation. What do you say?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that you watched that defense last year, and it all starts up front. They need to get stronger in the middle. Obviously, we'll see what happens in free agency. That'll be the first domino to fall here in a few weeks. But this is a pretty decent defensive tackle class, especially where the Browns are set to pick right now. I think at pick 42. So you look at, are we allowed to talk about a Michigan player on the show?
We are.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
We're allowed to talk about that Bowling Green player, I can tell you that.
Hey, biggest combine snub this year, Carl Brooks. Look, Mazi Smith is a good player, Michigan defensive tackle, a natural nose, but he has the movement skills. He can move up and down that defensive line a little bit. This guy is stout at the point of attack, exceptional power, physicality. The bigger question might be is he still there?
Yeah, will he be there?
He could go late first, go early second. So that'll be something to watch. And then Keanu Benton staying in the Big 12 or the Big 10 with the Wisconsin nose tackle. He really showed that pass rush potential that we thought he had down there at the Senior Bowl, but he was a nose tackle in the Badgers 3-man front. So we didn't necessarily get to see that a lot. We saw that in one-on-ones down there in Mobile. So Keanu Benton, for a guy that's 6'4", 315 pounds, carries that frame really well, and another guy that can just beat you up with that strength and power.
You know, you mentioned Mazi Smith, and I saw on your mock draft you had him going to the Browns. But Dane, my question is, like, they last year they drafted Perrion Winfrey, and there was some maturity concerns, some red flags with him. I know Mazi Smith got arrested. I think he had a concealed weapon in his car. I'm not saying that necessarily makes him a bad guy. People make mistakes, whatever. There's a lot of people out there carrying guns that shouldn't be. So anyway, what is there, like, what are we hearing about him? Is this a one-time thing? He made a mistake, or are there real character concerns with him?
No, I mean everyone you talk to at the Michigan program, everyone you talk to, just around the league that have been through that program, that have talked to people. This is not a guy with big character issues. He was pulled over for going 50 and a 25. He had multiple magazines of ammunition in the car with a handgun. The gun was purchased legally. He did not have his concealed license yet at that time. So it was bumped down to a misdemeanor, something that, he wasn't even suspended by the Michigan program for, which is, a different conversation. But as a whole, this is a gentle giant type of guy who is not someone that rocks the boat. He's someone all the coaches go to bat for. So I don't think, with Perrion Winfrey, it was a little bit of, what's the makeup? What's the, he's a fun-loving guy, but in terms of taking the coaching and applying it, the maturity questions, I don't think it's the same conversation with Mazi Smith.
Good.
Dane, I was a defensive tackle guy, and I was like, okay, I was with y'all. I'm like, yeah, the defensive line is trash. Like they're the bottom of the barrel. But I was looking at the Super Bowl. I'm looking at the playoffs, and man, the difference a wide receiver makes is just. It's just. I mean, when I look at a defensive tackle and what they are able to give me production-wise in the first year, maybe they're a rotational guy. Maybe you might, maybe they come in on pass rush or something. But what you can get out of these receivers nowadays in 1 year is mind-blowing because they just seem like they're ready to come out and just do what they need to do. Is there any receivers that you see in the second round that could possibly be so intriguing the Browns are like, oh, I got to take him even though we possibly need a defensive tackle?
Yeah, there are definitely a few. And we'll have to see how many of these receivers go in the first round. Last year we saw, 6 in the first 25 picks. This year, we might not have a single receiver go in the top 20. It's just a little bit different wide receiver class where we don't have those high-end guys. We don't have a Garrett Wilson this year, Chris Olave, Jamison Williams, those guys that projected as true number ones, guys that can really change an offense. But it's still a pretty good wide receiver class. And so how many go in that late one area? Addison from USC, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Ohio State, those guys. And then who's still around in the second? That'll be really interesting. I think one guy that really stands out for me who isn't being talked about nearly enough, but I promise you NFL teams are, and he's an Akron kid. Tyler Scott out of Cincinnati. This kid was a track star and a running back over at Norton High School, goes to Cincinnati, turns himself into a receiver. I tell you what, I feel like the Tyler Lockett comparisons get overused every single year. This guy has legitimate Tyler Lockett upside. And I think to get him, you probably have to get him in the second. I don't think he's going to fall to the third. But, if they did wait to the third, this is a good day 2 draft for receivers. I think, you look at Jaden Reed from Michigan State, had a great week down at the Senior Bowl. He's an explosive player. And for a guy that's not huge, he's 5'11", about $195. He's really strong through contact. So you talk about those contested catches, being the play strength to secure those grabs downfield. He can do it. He can make catches over defensive back. So Jaden Reed in the third, I think if they go defensive tackle or somewhere else in the second, they still have some pretty good options in the third round.
Well, I'm glad you brought up because I like Parker Washington actually from Penn State. He's a really good player. But I want to talk to you about
that's what he looks like.
Yeah, exactly. I want to talk to you about the edges because Zach Harrison, a guy from Ohio State, he came in, highly recruited guy. I think he was a 5-star. Career at Ohio State was up and down, but finished this year unbelievable. Did he do enough to see his name called in that second round maybe?
I think he's right on the cusp, late second, early third. He's about to go to the combine, and they're going to rename the combine after him. I mean, he is unbelievable. 6'5.5", 265 pounds, and he's going to run. I put the over/under at 4.52 in the 40. Unbelievable speed at that size.
He nice.
35 3/4-inch arms, 86.5-inch wingspan. This guy is just if you're going to draw up a defensive tackle or a defensive end, this is what it looks like. But, to your point, production wasn't always there. It was something where you could tell he was figuring it out in terms of the sequencing of setting up blockers, working on his counter moves.
Yep.
But just the length that he brings and that speed, there were a couple forced fumbles that he had this year that if his arms are a half-inch shorter, he's not making those plays. So absolutely, scouts and teams love length, love speed, and that's going to help Zach Harrison come draft time.
And he did a good job of. They was mixing him around, putting him in the D tackle position. He made plays. So he's a guy that can do both.
That's nice flexibility too,
Yeah.
being able to slide him, either inside or outside. I know that's something that most defensive coordinators would love the opportunity to do with guys. I'm worried about. I know G. Bush, you're kind of flipping on me here. You were on the defensive tackle front.
You still?
I
just want them to do that.
You can't be locked into one position.
No, you can't because you don't know who's going to be there. But I do think you need a game plan when you go in.
Get a veteran,
and
man.
I just think that I've got David Bell trauma right now.
Why?
David Bellitis.
Why?
He did nothing as a rookie.
He did nothing.
He ain't a Blazer.
Listen,
Right.
when you take someone that high in the draft,
What round he go?
third round,
Third round, yeah.
I thought he was.
you
fourth.
need more than
In
what
the 90s.
Yeah, you need more. So what I'm afraid of is, like, if there's a difference, if you've got a first-round pick, those are the guys that tend to be the difference makers. Now, that's not to say that you can't draft a third-rounder and he can have an impact, because we've seen it. But off of what they
Schwartz
did
a
last
third-rounder
year,
too?
Yes.
Jiminy Christmas. Yeah. I mean, like think about that.
Why would you
Schwartz
bring that
and
up?
Bell. Now, you know what? You can take a look at the guys that we've drafted on the interior defensive
Bad, too.
line, and they're all misses there too.
Yeah.
So I don't know who I trust.
What did you think of Schwartz and Bell coming out of college? And do you have any hope for either of them? I can't remember.
Bell is what he is. You know, he's not fast, but he's a very good route runner. He has sure hands. It's just, can he get open consistently? I think he's a really good 4 on your wide receiver depth chart, and work himself a little bit. Maybe can he work out of the slot? Can he? I don't think he's ever going to be a starter. I don't think he's ever going to be a 1 or a 2. You just hope that he can be a reliable 3 or 4. Schwartz, it's really hard to depend on him. He's got that track speed, but going back to his time at Auburn. He was not a reliable guy, and I don't think he's been that way here. But I tell you what, you look at the Chiefs, and you look, and obviously Patrick Mahomes is the difference maker. But you look at some of the skill talent around him. You look at the guys that scored touchdowns in the Super Bowl. Sky Moore was a second rounder. Kadarius Toney was a first, but they got him for a third rounder in the trade with the Giants. Travis Kelce, obviously a little bit of an outlier, but he was a day 2 pick as well. So I think you can find these guys, but it's just. It's not easy, but you can find, if you have the quarterback, which, I think the Browns think they do with Deshaun Watson, you can find the support around him anywhere on those day 2 picks. It's just, can you nail those picks? It's so important to do, especially in the top 100.
It's not just the quarterback either with Kansas City. I mean, they do have Mahomes, but with Andy Reid, he's scheming guys so far open that Adam the Bull could have caught the last 2 touchdown passes that they threw. I mean, I'm not sure you could have run the route, but if we put him in that spot and he's that open and nobody's near him.
But it's mostly about Mahomes. We're going to point to 2 plays.
Yeah, but Reid plays a part in that. He's scheming these guys so far wide open that, David Bell could probably have scored a touchdown.
I think that was an anomaly in support defense.
Saw it happen twice.
I know, but
Dane, can we talk about, we got one guy here, Jedrick Wills, right?
Oh,
and I've been looking at his tape, man. And I don't know what he's doing. Some days he just stops in the middle of the play. I don't know if he multiple times. I don't know if he has the feet to play left tackle. He was right tackle at Alabama, and I still think he's a guard. Now, I don't know if they're going to sign him to a 5th-year extension, but, I mean, where'd you have him coming out, and do you think they reached on him at 10?
Personally, no, I don't. I loved him as a prospect. I had him. He was my 5th overall player that year. I mean, I was really high on Jedrick Wills, and I don't. He has been inconsistent. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, they're going to pick up the 5th-year option. I mean, that's happening. And it's just a matter of one of the things that I first learned when I got into scouting from a GM who's still in the league is if you've seen him do it once, he can do it. We've seen Jedrick Wills do it, okay? And it's just a matter of getting through to him coaching-wise that, hey, this is what you need to do. This is – and some of it's preparation, in terms of the rusher you're going against and understanding, okay, he's going to anticipate your set points. He's going to, go with this move and then unlock this. And so some of it's preparation in terms of being ready for what's being thrown at you. And we've seen him do it, and now it's up to Jedrick and it's up to the coaching to get the most out of him. So, I think that, he's going to be the left tackle next year, and I still think they believe he's the left tackle of the future. But, we were spoiled for a lot of years at left tackle, and now, we've seen the other side, and it's a little inconsistent.
And Joe Tom's actually coming on with us in 15 minutes. But, Dane, a non-Browns question here. Bryce Young, I was looking at I know you put on The Athletic your top 100 prospects yesterday, and I saw that you had Bryce Young number 3 overall. And, at 5'10", I think there's going to be teams that will be scared of him. I mean, we've seen some of these high-drafted, shorter quarterbacks in recent years. Baker's been a flop. Kyler Murray, I don't know how I'm not feeling that great about Kyler Murray right now. I don't know that necessarily should affect Bryce Young, but at 5'10", you got him 3, so obviously you think he's going to be really good. why are you not concerned, or are you, about his height?
Well, honestly, it's not the height. Yeah, you wish he was 6'3". Sure. It's not the height that really worries me. It's the build. It's the 192. He just doesn't have the body type to be 210, 215. It's not as simple as saying, oh, he'll put on weight when he goes to the NFL. Like Alabama doesn't have a good strength department. I mean, he just doesn't have that type of body where he's going to pack on the muscle, and that's okay. But this is a guy that thrives in the chaos. He will gladly move the pocket and welcome the pass rush to give that route another half second to get open. That's how he thrives. But with everything just being a little bit faster in the NFL, he's going to take some hits. And so does he have the body type? Does he have the durability? The thing is, when you look at quarterback, obviously there's so many things that you have to weigh when you grade these guys. All I know is if he stays healthy, he's got everything else you want. The processing, the accuracy, the instincts, the vision, it's all there. The intangibles. It's just a matter of, can he stay healthy, and will the game translate? He doesn't have the elite physical traits, and he is an outlier, a complete outlier. The last 25 years, we have seen 301 quarterbacks drafted. Only 2 were under 5'11" and under 200 pounds, and neither were drafted top 100. So this is a guy that we just, you have to go back to Doug Flutie, and, we've never seen a guy like this in the modern NFL. And so it's a really, really fascinating conversation when you look at all the teams that need a quarterback in the top 10, the Texans, the Colts, the Raiders, the Panthers. And, you look at what they like at the position. Is the size going to be a big factor? I think it's really going to be, from team to team. They're going to have a different order of how they rank these quarterbacks.
Where does C.J. Stroud fit in your pecking order? And is he finally the Buckeyes quarterback that breaks this terrible drought that Ohio State quarterbacks have had in terms of having success in the NFL? Is he the guy?
Yeah, and I wasn't super high on C.J. Stroud. I thought he was an NFL starter. I thought he was, worthy of a first-round pick. But I didn't necessarily think he was number 1 overall pick material until you watch that Peach Bowl and you watch him against Georgia, and it's like, okay, where's this guy been? His first 27 games at Ohio State, he had I think 2 missed tackles. First 27 games, and then against Georgia in that one game, he had like 3 or 4. He's not a guy that liked to scramble. He just didn't look comfortable doing it. But it's Georgia, multiple times he would make a guy miss in the pocket. He would buy time, get those second chance throws, which we know in the NFL is so crucial to do. So how do you weigh that one game compared to the full body of work? And again, I go back to it. You see him do it once, he can do it. And so it's a little more of a complicated evaluation, but I think he's worthy of a top 10 pick. He's because he's so accurate from the pocket, he can carve you up. I think his floor is an NFL starter, and then it's just how much more can you grow from there with him on the move, improvising. That will really determine his ceiling, but I think his floor is enough that he's going to go somewhere in the top 10.
Dane, I got to ask you about 2 dudes at quarterback, and I think these are the Josh Allen guys, the guys that you're looking for. You're like, man, Richardson. We done slipped up and found somebody. Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. Yeah. Who's gonna lose? Who's gonna bet big on these dudes? Because these dudes got, I think, big time talent as far as arm accuracy, move, great athletes, but they don't have the tape. What are your thoughts on those 2 guys?
Yeah, you talk about just freak shows at quarterback. I mean, Anthony Richardson, he looks like a linebacker. He's big, he's fast, a power arm. I mean, the ball just effortlessly comes off his arm. But, the big thing for him will be the combine and the interviews, just understanding where is he mentally in terms of reading coverages and understanding protections. Where is he now and how far does he have to go? How much of a jump is there? Because he's only a redshirt sophomore. He's only a 1-year starter. There's so little that we know about him, where his ceiling is going to be. We know the potential is there, but what's the chances he reaches it? And so Anthony Richardson's a very freaky talent, but teams are really split on him. Will Levis, same type of thing. He came into his senior year with a lot of hype. Another guy that looks the part, throws the ball really well, has got a great arm, a really quick release. From the biomechanics standpoint, he's almost perfect. With the way he looks, the way the ball comes out, It's just he needs to see things a little bit quicker. And I think when you talk about quarterbacks at the college level, you have to look at, are these reasons or excuses? And I think with Will Levis, some of the reasons why, why he didn't, have a great senior year, I think they are more reasons than excuses in terms of a brand new offensive line. He lost his top target at receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson. He lost his offensive coordinator, and the offensive coordinator they brought in this past season already gone after 1 year. So, with everything, all the moving them did not have the senior year many expected. But you look at the good, and that gives you a lot of optimism about what he could be at the next level. So a little bit older than Anthony Richardson, but both these guys are in that first-round mix. There's too much talent for either of these guys to fall too far. This won't be like last year where we saw, Malik Willis fall to the third, Desmond Ridder fall to the third. These guys are too talented to get out of the first round. It's just a matter of, okay, which team is going to take that jump, take that leap, and take a chance on one of these guys.
Dane, we mentioned briefly Jackson Smith-Njigba before, about possibly him dropping late first round, early second. Before the season, it seemed like he was a lock to be a top 10 pick. Obviously, he didn't play much. He got hurt. Is that what's dropped his draft stock? I mean, because what happened? Why? I thought this guy was supposed to be an elite receiver. Is he not?
No, and I think that it was a little bit of a misconception from the start. He thrived last year on the inside with Garrett Wilson and Olave on the outside, and just ate up in the middle of the field. Led that team in 2021 in receptions, looked great. That Rose Bowl, we'll never forget that, right? But when you look at the traits, he's not the biggest guy, and the speed is very average. I mean, throw on the Penn State tape from last year, you can see a linebacker, chase him down. So how translating him to the next level, can he play on the outside? Is he a slot only? Teams look at him as a slot only player. And so he's an outstanding route runner. I mean, CJ Stroud says he's the best route runner he's ever played with. He's got outstanding ball skills. That'll play at the next level. He is going to have a very good NFL career. I just don't think he's going to be looked at as that true number one outside target, like a lot of teams want in that top half of the first round. As long as he's healthy at the combine, the medicals are okay, I still think he goes somewhere in the back half of round one, which is where I think his value was all along. Okay. It's just some of those early rankings and mock drafts, kind of overinflated it, because that's where we see receivers go these days. But I think he's more in the back half of round one.
Dane, a couple things real quick. The first one just popped into my head, so only spend 20 seconds on this. If Marvin Harrison Jr. was in this draft, where would he be?
Top 5 pick, easy. I mean, the Bears would consider him at number one. He's that good. I
think you're crazy if you don't. I mean, I've just seen this kid he's going to be incredible at the next level in my view. Lastly, I used to love to ask McShay and Kuiper of their overall draft grades by position group. And we don't have time to go through all the position groups, but I'm going to hit the two that we're most interested here in Cleveland, and that's the defensive front, but more specifically, if you do it like that, the defensive interior. What kind of class are we looking at overall there talent-wise, and what about wide receiver?
I think if you want a defensive tackle in the first round, maybe this isn't, a defensive tackle class for you. Jalen Carter's going to go early, but then I think it thins out until you get to the second round. So I think for the Browns' purposes, second, third round, this is a pretty good defensive tackle group. We could see 6 defensive tackles probably in the second, third round range, plenty of options. And then I think it's similar with wide receiver. It almost plays out very well for this team. We're going to see receivers go in the first round. We mentioned Addison and Smith-Njigba. Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee might get up there. Quentin Johnson from TCU is a freak, just a little raw. But some of the guys we mentioned earlier, with Tyler Scott, Zay Flowers from Boston College is in that mix. And so it's not the wide receiver class we had last year or the year before, but it wasn't too long ago we saw guys like AJ Brown and DK Metcalf go in the second round, Deebo Samuel, second rounder. And I think this is more along those lines of those draft classes where not a lot of first rounders, but the second, third round, that's where the value is at receiver.
That lines up perfectly with what the Browns' needs are and what they're sitting on.
Can we stop whining about giving up the first round pick? It doesn't matter.
No, it matters. Trust me, it matters. Do you want to handle the Tyvus stuff?
I do. So, Dane, thank you for coming on. This has been awesome. Whenever you want to come back, we'd love to have you leading up to the draft. Tyvus is the nicest, friendliest dude in the world. We love Tyvus. even if sometimes he doesn't love us, like at the beginning of the show. But we do love Tyvis. So I asked Dane last night, hey, did you happen to scout Tyvis when he was coming out of Ohio State? And Dane, of course, being the professional he is, he did. Let's take 104 full, Steve.
First round pick.
This was his scouting report on Tyvis. Now, because it's very small and you can't read it, I broke it down into much simpler, easily digestible topics. So these are Tyvis' strengths, according to Dane Brugler. He had a well-built frame, accelerates well.
Come on now. Talk about it.
Hold on, your weaknesses are coming out.
Do you agree those?
Come on now.
And he was a physical tackler.
Come on.
You agree with those being your strengths? Or those were your strengths coming out of college?
He disagrees with how short the list is.
Yeah, the list could be a little bit long, you know.
I'm looking for.
No, honestly, nah. It's a pretty good list. Pretty decent.
I'm looking for these cover skills.
All right, let's see the weakness.
Yeah, let's see the weakness.
I thought I had range. That's about,
Look.
one missing.
Look, he's smiling over there.
Look at him.
Dane's getting awfully uncomfortable right now.
Give these.
Good to join you guys.
So here are the weaknesses.
Here we go.
He said he was a well-rounded safety but needs better leverage, had bad run defender habits, and he called you having straight line-ish athleticism.
What is that supposed to mean? You saying the world is that supposed to mean?
He said your hips is
That's
stiff.
basically what he said.
Yeah, your hips
Like my
lie.
hips ain't good.
I gave you a draftable grade. I said you should have been drafted. So,
I appreciate it.
I
A lot
got
And here,
something.
Dane, here's the summary, just so everyone knows. This is what he finalized with. He had a 5th-round grade, his
Hey!
12th-ranked
Wow.
safety, and, quote, ideal NFL size speed
See?
blend.
There you go.
So he was Team Tyvis here. Before Dane has to defend himself, Dane was very much Team Tyvis.
Respect.
Dane, did you ever in your wildest imagination think that when you wrote that, you'd one day have to answer to him face to face?
Hey, no, but I tell you what, I stand by it. You know, I got to trust what my eyes tell me. And so, you know what? It's tough. All I know is Tyvis has a ring. I don't.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Dave.
And the good outweighed the bad. Everybody's got some
because I gotta
criticism.
address this.
Yeah.
He said like my hips say, I played corner in the league. Did you know that?
Oh,
They convert.
I know.
My hips was so good that they said you doing yourself a disservice playing safety. You need to be playing corner. That's how good my hips is. I got 2 kids too.
Yeah.
So the hips don't lie.
You've been putting that work in.
I'll be honest, I haven't watched your film in 7 years, so it's been a while. But it's,
Dane, you handled that really well, man.
I like that.
And here's another thing. Like, why aren't you on television? I mean, nothing against The Athletic. It's a great organization, but you are tremendous on TV. You need to be doing this on television.
well, offline, I could tell you, some offers I've had, but I really like what I'm doing at The Athletic right now, and so they've been really good to me. And
Well, good for you. I'm
it's,
glad.
Great outfit.
see what the future brings.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Dane.
Hey, but
Very
before we
well
let Dane
done,
go,
man.
Before we let Dane go, Dane, just so you can feel humbled here with Tyvis, let's play his golf swing real quick.
Will
Dane,
you stop
you
it?
didn't put this in his scouting report, but Tyvis, not a good golfer. You got to start from the beginning, Steve.
It's
Start
too
from the
late.
beginning.
There we go.
that's yours.
Yeah, there we go.
This is our director if you want to see this. This is our director. He's
Look at his backswing.
equally as bad.
His back.
That's not a draftable grade.
That's
no.
not
Now, this is
draftable.
side by side with Tyvis. Focus on the left side here.
Watch the club, Dane.
Did you see that form? It's about the form.
He missed the ball, but the club went 40 yards
Yeah.
into the woods.
Shout out to y'all.
Sure. I got to get that deleted off the internet.
Internet's
luck.
forever, bro.
And
Dane,
Tyvis, Joe Thomas
great
is
job,
in the,
man.
in the queue waiting and laughing at you.
Appreciate
Right now.
Wait a minute. My wife texted me and
Thanks,
wanted
guys.
y'all all to know that my hips do work.